Hey guys, what's up? It's Sean, Autotopia LA, and today we're back down at Superformance. Today we're getting into what I've been waiting for, and waiting for, and waiting for, and today is finally the day that we're gonna dig in on the Shelby Daytona Coupe. Hard to say this, but possibly the coolest of the Ferrari killers in existence. And not only are we gonna dig in on all the wonderful details of the car, but most importantly, I get to drive this car today. So we're gonna jump in and do our thing. And all I can say at this point is hold on, because here we go, man. All right, you guys, we're back with my friend Doug down here at Superformance. So what we're gonna do today, you guys, is we're gonna dig in on this Daytona Coupe, because there's a lot about this one besides just the legendary history of the Daytona Coupe. There's a lot I already learned about this car, like number one being that when you guys got the license to produce this car, that Peter Brock was involved in the design of this car. So Peter Brock designed the original car, but also designed this one.
Exactly. That's how Lance Stander with Superformance and Shelby Legendary Cars rolls.
Yeah.
He will only do something if it is super legit.
Yeah.
How more legit can you get than giving Peter Brock a clean sheet of paper and a second chance to design his dream Daytona Coupe?
Like, what would he have done back then if he would have had the time rather than, because he was on a 90-day.
Yeah, he had 90 days
right?
and a 289 Cobra chassis to come up with something that's going to beat Ferrari.
So he
over
couldn't
at Le
redesign
Mans.
the chassis. He couldn't do anything. He had to deal with that chassis, that motor.
Yep.
Now build something that can go over 160 miles an hour.
Exactly, because FIA rules at the time allowed you to rebody an existing car, but you couldn't build out a brand new car. Otherwise, you had to go back through homologation.
Right.
So he was
they
able
never
to
would have
leverage
made
the
Le Mans that
homologation
year.
on the 289 car, but come up with a coupe body, because he literally sketched the car on a napkin, the first sketches.
Unbelievable.
And 90 days later, they went out to Riverside and ran 186 miles an hour. So it's just a coupe version of the 289 FIA.
Right.
And first race was the Daytona Continental in 1964, so they named it the Daytona.
And then they were just crushing Ferrari at Le
lapping.
Mans in that car.
Lapping.
Right.
And one of the great things about it, because of the aerodynamics that Peter designed into the car, fuel mileage, which for endurance racing is a huge deal.
Crucial.
Yeah, so they were not only getting tons of speed out of the existing chassis and drivetrain, but the fuel economy was nuts.
Yeah.
Just allowed them to just lap the Ferraris.
Yeah.
So this car is 3% bigger overall than the original Daytona Coupe.
Okay.
Wider, a little taller, a little longer. Instead of a 90-inch wheelbase, it's got a 93.2-inch wheelbase.
Okay.
This car, the chassis was designed new from the ground up by Bob Nagstad. Bob was one of the geniuses that worked on the chassis design for the GT40. At the time he did this design, he was working for Roush, so they had all the great science and computer-aided design from Roush to design a super stiff, modern tube frame chassis, unequal upper and lower A-arms, custom tuned Bilstein gas coilover shocks, just like we use on the Mark IIIs.
Right. Yeah, yeah.
But this car, 55-45 weight distribution, so it's considered to be a front and mid-engine car. And I'll show you, like, the engine sits far behind the front wheels.
Yeah.
So this car, I've been a Daytona Coupe owner for 15 years. My wife now is the primary owner of my Daytona. And it's her daily driver.
That's how he got the girl, by the way. He gave her a Daytona Coupe. The headers are as impressive as the GT40.
One of my favorite parts of the car, the way the headers come out, up over the frame rail, and then drop down into these beautiful twin side pipes. One of the signatures of the Daytona Coupe are those twin side pipes.
Yeah. So this one, as opposed to the 289 car, I take it we've got a considerably larger motor here?
Yeah, this is a Shelby engine company, all aluminum 427 stroked Windsor. So it's a 351 Windsor aluminum block punched out to 427, breathing through some very nice period correct 4 2-barrel Webers.
Which are just so cool.
Yeah.
I mean, even if, I can admit, even if you get a little more horsepower out of a different setup, you'd have to go with this because it just looks so damn cool.
These, when they're set up right, I mean, keep in mind, this was the hot rod setup back in the day. You take the 4-barrel off and put the Webers on to get more horsepower. So these actually will generate a lot of horsepower.
Yeah. This
engine with a 4-barrel will usually make around 525 horse. This one with the Webers makes 550.
And what does this thing weigh?
About 2,900 pounds.
Oh my God.
With air conditioning, with carpet, with power
Nice
windows,
interior,
power steering,
all-
power brakes,
Sure.
leather, carpet.
Sure.
One of the changes we made in the Mark II car was actually narrowed the tunnel a bit and moved the seats inboard. So like, you know, we're about the same size. In my
Right.
Mark I car, my shoulder would touch the door panel with the door shut.
Got it.
Now look how much space you have
A lot of space.
between the seat and the door. So we have guys like up to 6'6", really comfortable in a Daytona Coupe. Tons of headroom, tons of leg room. And this has the period correct 15-inch FIA wheels on it. You can also get the car with modern 18-inch wheels,
Right.
which it'll handle the track a little better, but this gives you the more period
That'll
correct look
handle on
with the
track
big
better,
circle.
huh? With the bigger wheel and a lower profile
That's really
tire?
what the chassis was designed for.
Interesting.
And we initially only offered the car with the 18-inch wheel package. But then so many
Interesting.
people wanted the period correct look, we engineered an FIA wheel package for it. Again,
Yeah.
all true pin drive knockoffs.
Right.
This has the Avon tires on it, which are a great option for the 15s
Yeah.
because they stick really good.
Yeah.
And you're going to see how nice it drives with the Avons.
Which means I am going to get to drive this car.
Yes, you are. When you drive this car, what we can do is roll the windows up and not use the air conditioning, and you'll get that vintage feel,
Right.
Because it's about 95 degrees outside
It'll be
today.
perfect, man. We'll be
And,
sweating. My head will be nice and glossy, you know.
It gives you an appreciation, though, for Bob Bondurant and Dan Gurney and Alan Grant, all those guys back in the day that
sure.
drove the Daytona Coupes. I mean, all they had was a little slide vent window. There were fixed windows on
Yeah.
the car, and there was no, like, this is fully dynamated with heat insulation,
Yeah.
everything. They didn't have any of that.
Right.
And they had that uncomfortable seating position, and they're wheeling the car. Those cars with the 289s back in the day were doing like 197 down the Mulsanne straight.
God, man, that's just amazing,
Yeah.
dude. I just can't imagine, because you look at the car, the seating position looks like your body would be about like this,
Yeah.
you know, turned like really
Can you imagine
sideways.
doing a 3-4 hour stint
No.
like they did back in the
No.
day? Because they didn't do
Those
driver
were just
changes as often back then as they do now.
Right.
So those guys were pulling some long stints, you know,
Yeah.
in the heat, in the rain,
Yep.
you know,
Yep.
back when men were men, for sure.
Yeah. No, that was it was just a different era. I think it's time to go for a drive.
I think so too. So let's stop looking and get cooking. Now you hear the side pipes.
Oh God, that tone, man. You had a thank you wanted to offer up to the, I believe, to the owner of this vehicle,
Yeah, this
right?
is actually a car that's for sale on consignment, and it's owned by a gentleman named Jim Bauer. So Jim, thanks for letting us use your baby today.
A big thanks, Jim. I mean, for one, I've been very much looking forward to driving one of these, and then also the GT40 that we shot before, the Gulf-colored one.
Yeah,
that
the
was
Golf
his as
GT40
well, right?
that you loved was Jim's car as well. Yeah, so Jim's been very generous in letting us use his cars.
That's so cool, man.
Yeah, very cool guy, true car guy.
I can't believe how quiet it is in here. Now these are considerably quieter, though, even on the outside than the Cobras are.
Yeah, they
Like
tend to be a
whole
little
different-
quieter. This has a Shelby all aluminum stroke 351 Windsor. It's a 427 cubic inch small block with the 4 2-barrel Webers on top, which are period correct, 550 horsepower, and then a Tremec 5-speed. And I love it's got the little 289 shifter handle,
Yeah.
true to its 289 roots.
I tell you what, it feels considerably more planted on the road.
Yeah, more like a modern car than an older car as far as
Yes.
chassis feel.
Yes, definitely. It doesn't. The Cobra, although it felt solid and I felt safe in it, it felt more darty. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, this has 3-inch longer wheelbase, which helps a lot. And a little wider.
But there's that sound. That nose is so cool to look over.
It is. You got that big radiator vent in front of the big bulge, power bulge in the middle.
Yeah.
Then you got those sexy fenders, swoop up. It's just a beautiful car.
It's really amazing the history that Carroll Shelby and the amount of wins that he produced.
Yeah.
You know,
To take this car brand new from concept to Le Mans and win the class, almost win overall, is nuts.
I mean, especially the idea that he did it in 90 days.
Yeah.
From a cocktail napkin drawing, which I love that. That's an era that's gone now. You know, I'm not going to say guys don't do that, but the reality is cars now, you know, they're designed by designers in computer programs and CAD and 3D and yada yada yada, all the different stuff. The idea that he drew it out on a cocktail napkin and went, yeah, I know what we're going to do.
Yeah, just organically from his brain to his hand to the paper.
Incredible. What a genius design guy. And it just feels so good on the road, dude. It really does.
And honestly,
it doesn't feel old.
It's even better with the 18s.
Is it really?
Yeah.
I mean, the temps are great on this car, and it's hot outside right now.
Yeah.
It's really hot out. I mean, it's got to be, what, 90,
95, 96 probably.
Feels like it, yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, when you just open the window, like,
I know, like, no.
I want to hear the side pipe.
Yeah.
Not that bad. Not that bad at all. So this is our 5th car with you guys. And some of the cars caused a little controversy in the conversation. Kit car, not kit car.
Yeah.
You know, and
everybody has a different meaning. So a lot of people will maintain the fact that the Superformance comes without a drivetrain, without the engine and transmission.
Right. Cool.
And kit car is not a bad thing. I mean, some people take it like it's a bad thing.
Right.
You know, I'm great friends with Dave Smith, who's the owner of Factory 5. I have a lot of respect for him and the cars that they do. The issue with a car that's not a complete manufactured car is you're at the mercy of whoever's building it, and the build quality is going to fluctuate quite a bit.
Right.
But I've seen kit cars that are built to an incredibly high standard and very well done. One of my best friends, Karen Salvaggio, has raced 25 hours at Thunder Hill in her Factory 5 Daytona. She's got a Factory 5 Cobra race car. She races those cars and puts them through their paces, and they hold up to it. And I mean, she beats a lot of people with more horsepower and stuff. I mean, it's a nice chassis. The way she's got it set up is great, but it's because of the way she's built it and set it up.
Right.
So if you get somebody that doesn't know what they're doing, or they're just not quite as proficient, you end up with what you end up with.
Gotcha. All right, you guys, that is it for another glorious day down here at Superformance, getting to drive yet another one of their cars that's one I've dreamt about my entire life. I mean, this is a friggin' Daytona Coupe that I just got to drive. It's everything you would want it to be. I would love to know what it's like to pound on it, but I'm just not gonna do that. I'm not gonna show the lack of respect to what these guys do. It's somebody else's car. But what an incredible experience to drive this thing. I'm literally like kind of shaking right now, and I'm bordering on speechless. So I'm simply gonna say thanks to the guys at Superformance for letting me come down and shoot. Thanks to my friend Doug for walking us through and talking through this car. And ultimately, I say thanks to you guys for hanging and watching and supporting what we're up to here. You know I appreciate it, and I will see you in the next episode. All right, man. Later.